bienvenue. Here we are in Spa-Francorchamps. It's the 6th race weekend of the DTM season, and last race weekend at the Nürburgring was crazy in regards to the weather, so now we're curious to find out what Spa will bring. One thing is for sure, it's the longest racetrack in the calendar and it's magical.
Spa, 3 magical letters, but one special feeling.
Legendary.
One of the cool tracks. It's one of the most iconic racetracks we have in racing.
In the heart of the idyllic Ardennes forest lies a true high-speed temple.
A lot of ups, a lot of downs.
Fast, obviously very quick.
Just high speed, which makes it impressive.
Everybody likes to drive here.
Everything is on the limit.
The DTM has come back to a racetrack that provides the stiffest of challenges.
You need to be courageous.
It's quite challenging to find a good compromise between good top speed and downforce.
One little mistake and you're off in the gravel or in the wall, so it's pretty cool to be here.
A 7-kilometre-long thrill ride, featuring what's widely regarded as one of the greatest corners in the world.
When you don't hit the entry of Eau Rouge right, it can get a bit, I would say, edgy.
Of course, they are obviously very quick. Eau Rouge was 220, 230 flat out.
If you do a little mistake, it can cost you a lot.
You see how the cars are on the edge.
And one thing that's always unpredictable is the weather here.
I don't mind a bit of mixed conditions. It makes it exciting for everyone.
Sometimes you are in slicks and start to rain in one part of the track and then not rain in the other part of the track. This is also something that only happens in Spa.
In the rain or when it's damp conditions, you need quite some big balls.
You need to be a little bit crazy here.
This place is totally unique and a special cocktail of motorsport. Spa, 3 letters, 1 legend.
Spa-Francorchamps always has a surprise in store for us, as we could also see in the first qualifying. Another surprise, Sheldon van der Linde, the leader of the championship, is not amongst the top 20. So let's see what the race brings.
Welcome then to Spa-Francorchamps, this legendary circuit, as we get set for the first race of the weekend, the 6th event of what's been a fascinating DTM 2022 season. And this race promises to be very interesting indeed. Volatile weather conditions are always a factor here in the Ardennes forest, and we've had everything so far: wet, damp, dry conditions. At the moment it could be a dry start, but rain may be on the way. There's Sheldon van der Linde, the championship leader. He struggled in the qualifying session this morning, which was wet, and finds himself back in 22nd spot on the grid. Can he fight his way through to the points?
If you look down on the floor, it's completely wet right now, but we have 6 on the car, so that's obviously a lot of risk you're having to take at the start. Especially in Eau Rouge, it's still wet when I did the outlap over the top, so it's going to be interesting on the first lap. I hope everyone can keep it clean and kind of just do a clean race, because I think it's important for me especially to just get through the first lap and not kind of have any incidents or anything, and just get through cleanly. And then from there I'm just going to try and see what the weather does. Obviously you never know here in Spa.
So then the team's all set for what could be a pretty fraught race. We've had a wide-open championship this season. It has included a number of different pole sitters, and Dennis Olsen becomes the latest. It's the first ever Porsche pole position in the DTM. It's Dennis's first pole, and it's SSR Performance's first pole position. Tommy Preining starting alongside Lucas Au at 3rd in the championship, and Maxi Götz are on road 2. Maxi with his best qualifying for 12 months. Lawrence Van Tour and Kelvin van der Linde are up there as well. David Schumacher is one of 2 drivers to receive a 5-place grid penalty, the other being Maro Engel, so watch for them coming through from just outside the top 10. So Maxi Götz then, the reigning champion, he's had 5 consecutive points finishes, he's been in the top 6 of late. Can he turn this into a first podium of the season? And what about Lucas Au with the top 2 in the championship? Sheldon van der Linde way down the order, and Mirko Bortolotti almost as far back. He's got a real chance here to move up the order. Tommy Preining will be looking for his 2nd win in the DTM, but Dennis Olsen is going to start this race from pole position. That means we've had 9 different pole sitters so far this season already. Right then, spots of rain in the air, a dry line, very damp off the racing line, damp grass, damp curbs. What are you going to do? all you can do is go with the conditions you've got at present, and it's going to be a dry start to the race. But it's such a long circuit, 7.004 kilometres. There are different parts of weather wherever you are on the track. So Chris Hartley, trackside, to talk you through the 11th round of DTM 2022. The two Porsches fill the front row of the grid. They were 1-2 at the Norris Ring. Preining won from Olsen. Who's going to win this one? The lights go out, the race gets underway, and they head towards La Source here, absolutely side by side. The two Mercedes of Gotts and Auer just behind. Preining got his nose in front into La Source, but he's on the outside line, so Olsen converts pole position into the race lead. But Lucas Auer got a really good run coming out of the hairpin, so he now draws alongside Preining. They're going to be side by side. Two won't fit into one here through Eau Rouge and up towards Radion. There's contact, and Preining gets a huge moment sideways on the grass, somehow saves it, but he's going to kill his speed up the hill now, and they'll all come charging past him on the run up the Campbell Straight. So Dennis Olsen will lead, Lucas Auer in second place, Maxi Gotts is there in third, Laurens Vanthoor is fourth, and they're all queuing to get past Tommy Preining, who's going to fall towards the tail end of the top 10. But it's a miracle he's still on the track, because that was a huge, huge moment at high speed. Not quite sure how he saved it, but he's still involved in the race. Everybody else safely through. And you got the top two in the championship, Sheldon van der Linde and Mirko Bortolotti, trying to fight their way through. Remember, Bortolotti didn't score a single point last time out at the Nürburgring. Lost the championship lead to Sheldon van der Linde, but he gambled on dry tyres in changeable conditions in qualifying. Bortolotti finds himself 20th on the grid. There's Marco Wittmann in the Volkenhorst BMW, car number 11, just behind his teammates. One of the two home races this weekend, Esteban Moot with the special art livery on the car this weekend, and then Ricardo Feller just behind in the Audi. A replay of the start then, and a really good start from Tommy Preining. Tiny bit of contact between the two Porsches as they went off the line. But look at Lucas Auer hogging the inside line here. Watch him get on the gas here, and this is where he starts to attack Tommy Preining on the run out of La Source, as they then charge downhill towards Eau Rouge, and there was the contact. And that is probably the worst place you can get contact, because you go from downhill to uphill. There's a huge change of direction. It's wet, very wet off the track. And that was a miraculous save. That was the point of view of Laurens Vanthoor, who was right behind all of that. And that's what it looked like from the grandstands. Tremendous reactions from Tommy Preining then to keep the car on the road. Jaw-dropping moment. Heart in mouth time for everybody watching that. But he survives. Slightly shorter race than normal this weekend at 50 minutes plus one lap. Dennis Olsen has had a pretty perfect start to the race, though. Was challenged into turn one by Tommy Preining, but was able to fend him off. Auer second, and there is Sheldon van der Linde, who hasn't really made a great deal of progress in the race so far. Let's have a look on board. And right behind his championship rival, way out of the points, down in 20th and 21st or thereabouts, and a tiny bit of contact on the way out of the chicane. But Bortolotti survives, they carry on, and they should be okay to continue with no damage. So Dennis Olsen, the Norwegian driver, controlling things at the moment, but Lucas Auer started to come after him. The gap was over a second, it's now about 3/4 of a second. A couple of good laps from Lucas Auer. There's a big gap suddenly back to Maximilian Gotts in third place, looking for his first podium of 2022. His first podium since he won the final round of 2021, the result that gave him the championship title. And there, Laurens Vanthoor, who's at his best grid of the year so far, starting on the third row. His previous best had been 9th on the grid, and his average 17th on the grid. That's been his problem, really, having to try and come through from lowly grid positions. Super slow-mo here, and the sparks flying from Lucas Auer as he charges on here, trying to get his second win of the season. I wonder what they're going to do, because there is a forecast that there might be rain towards the end of the race. So when do you pit? Well, some are coming in pretty early. You have to pit between 10 and 40 minutes in the race. So Ricardo Feller, Lucas Stoltz and Nick Cassidy have all come in, and they're drivers that were in the middle of the pack, trying to do something different to the rest of the field. So Cassidy has come out on top, qualified 12th on the grid. Lucas Stoltz, the winner of race 2 at the Nürburgring, just behind him. But you don't want to come in, make your mandatory pit stop, then it rains, then you have to come in again and change to wet. So I wonder if some drivers might leave it very late towards the end of the pit window, just in case that scenario happens. Well, that's not the case for Maro Engel, it's not the case for Thomas Preining. So they pit from 6th and 8th places respectively. The first of the real front runners to come in. Gap continues to remain pretty tight between the top two, and that pit lane is pretty damp as well, so the drivers will have to be a little bit careful here too. All 4 tyres have to be changed. Only 6 mechanics, only 4 of them can actually work on the tyre change themselves. Rears first, then fronts. Maro Engel away first. That's a good stop. 8.3 seconds and 9.5 seconds, so 1.2 seconds slower for the Koos Team Bernhard squad. So good stop that, and Maro Engel will go out now and try to get the tyres up to temperature, which will take longer than normal given the damp circuit that we've got. He should easily come out in front of Nick Cassidy, who's the first of the previous pit stoppers. There, Nick in the AlphaTauri Ferrari, just making his way out of La Source. So Maro Engel, the first of the pit stoppers, followed by Thomas Preining, followed by Nick Cassidy, and then Lucas Stoltz. All of them coming in relatively early in the window. And still, you see how damp it is offline there. There's Lucas Stoltz, see what he can do. Came from 8th on the grid to win at the Nürburgring, but we've lost already, I'm afraid. Philipp Eng, who was really unlucky in race 2 at the Nürburgring. He had a car that looked quick enough to take a win, or at least a podium, but he's had a technical issue.
Should be slicks.
So there, team radio, Lucas Auer, should be slicks. So they're going to stick with the slick tyres, even though there's 1 or 2 drops of rain in the air. They're going to stick with slicks. They don't forecast any rain for now. Oh, and a problem with the pit stop there. It was initially very good, but then they had to get it back up on the jacks. Problem with the front left. That's going to cost him a few seconds here. Now, he wasn't that far clear of the battle for 3rd place before the pit stops happened. So he's now under threat from the likes of Max Gutz.
Lucky, cars are coming behind. Cars are coming behind with the hot tyres, but they are still far away. They are now in turn 1, so it's all good. You have to push a lot now to cover our loss. Good job so far.
So I reckon that cost him about 3 seconds. No response on the radio from Lucas Auer. He's focused fully on trying to get the car on slippery tyres through Eau Rouge and Raidillon. He goes up the Campbell Straight, weaves left, weaves right to try and get heat into the tyres. He was away, and then they said, stop, no, the front left is not there, and he had to be released again. But he has got out as the leading pit stopper. Right, more pit stops now, and this is a key one because it's Dennis Olsen coming in, the race leader, and he remains on slick tyres as well. Looks like a pretty decent stop so far for SSR Performance, well rehearsed. He's away, bit of wheel spin because it's slippery on the pit exit and the pit road.
So Auer had a mistake in his pit stop, so you will not fight Auer in the outlet.
So there the news for Dennis Olsen, good news for him as well.
Copy, I touched the wall on the pit exit.
Copy that.
Well, that's not good. So Dennis replying to say, I'll clip the pit wall during the pit stop. So hopefully not too hard to have caused him too much damage. So we'll see what he can do. More pit stops ensue now. Absolutely bone dry on the way down to La Source. As on the other side of the pit wall, Maximilian Gutz comes in. Now he's got a chance here of getting ahead of Lucas Auer, because Lucas, remember, lost around about 3 seconds during his pit stop. And the gap was about 3 seconds between them when they were second and third. Lucas Auer coming into the hairpin now. Dennis Olsen is going to be the first of the pit stoppers, no problem. But what about second place or a net second place? Gotts comes out, but he's got very cold tyres, and Lucas Auer is already up to temperature. The Mercedes of Lucas Auer coming bigger and bigger in the mirrors. He flashes the lights. There'll be no way through at Eau Rouge, at Raidillon, but there's a big straight coming up at Kemmel, and he's already onto the case of the reigning champion. I don't think Maxi Gutz is going to be able to do much to stop the Austrian coming through. And Lucas Auer already side by side and already through. But we will have slightly older tyres at the end of the race, if indeed they are still on slick tyres when we get to the end of the race. Right, replay of what? Oh, Maro Engel tried to get past Rolf Inischen and contact on the way out of the chicane. Maro Engel on course for a top 5, top 6 position. Getting past Rolf Inischen, is yet to make his pit stop. Turned in, found a Lamborghini there. Bodywork flies off, Tommy Preining right behind it. And all a bit of a mess on the way into the chicane. Oh, Maro Engel has picked up a left rear puncture as a result, presumably, of that contact with the Lamborghini of Rolf Inischen. And that's a real shame, because Maro, it looked like he was with good pace there, particularly after the pit stop. He's got a very long way back to the pits, and that's effectively game over. So Engel, who looked good for a top 5, top 6 at least, Didn't have a good weekend on his birthday weekend at the Nürburgring, and now looks like it's going to be another non-points finish, as just behind Sheldon van der Linde, the championship leader, comes in to make his pit stop fairly late on board with Sheldon, and it couldn't be worse timing because he's stuck behind Maro Engel, who's trying to limp in with the puncture. It's costing him huge time here, and Sheldon van der Linde probably losing a couple of seconds as a result of that. A couple of seconds he cannot afford to lose, given he's trying to fight his way through from 22nd on the grid to get somehow some championship points from this race. So the Schubert Motorsport squad, who lead the team's championship, have already lost Philipp Eng. They're trying to get their other driver, the points leader, into the top 10. Comes out of the pits well clear of Marius Zug, but with still a lot of work to do, and less than 14 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. So Marco Wittmann, Maximilian Bug, Arjun Maini become the top 3 in this race. They've all yet to pit. Top 5 have yet to pit. Schumacher in 4th, Grenier in 5th. Olsen is the leading pit stopper. And this is a replay of the battle between Lucas Auer and Maximilian Götz, and that's over at Brussels. Out wide goes Lucas Auer, through goes Götz. Oh, that's the reason he went wide, because he's got no front left tyre. A puncture for Lucas Auer, the driver 3rd in the championship. And that's real heartbreak. He was on course for a really good podium finish to back up the 3rd and 5th places he got at the Nürburgring. Now, René Rast has appeared ahead of Kelvin van der Linde, and this is how it happened. Replay, diving down the inside, the 2 Audis together, and the 3-time champion with a tidy move on the way into the chicane. This is what it looked like from Kelvin's point of view. He couldn't fend off the German driver, Kelvin, who had a near miss in qualifying when he went in the gravel trap, but was still able to get out of the gravel trap and qualify 8th. So René Rast, who had a very disappointing weekend at the Nürburgring, might be one of the few near the top of the championship table to score points in this race. Getting into the closing stages, and Maxi Götz has started to close the gap, as you can see from the graphic. He's found some real pace here. He's got slightly fresher tyres on the car. The Michelin should be working well now. And the Mercedes is starting to catch the Porsche. One driver looking for his 1st win in DTM, one driver looking for his 4th win in DTM. The reigning champion, who hasn't yet been on the podium in 2022, pushing on here, senses a chance to get a victory, but the rain has started to fall over on this side of the circuit on the start-finish straight on the way into La Source. Wet tyres are being readied potentially for Thomas Preining by the Gus Team Bernhard squad, and it's all started to kick off in the battle for the lower points positions. There's Marco Wittmann, Arjun Maini, Ricardo Feller all together. You've got Esteban Moot in that battle as well, and just behind them, look, having recently made his pit stop, is Sheldon van der Linde in the red and yellow BMW. The South African finds 3 cars filling the track just in front of him. He's got great momentum. He gets one side of Arjun Maini, Ricardo Feller goes the other. Esteban Moot's gone to the head of the group, and it's a real ding-dong on the way into Le Combe, and he's trying to get up the inside of Feller now on the way into the right-hander at Malmedy, which he has done. So Sheldon van der Linde still with half a chance of some points here. The rear-facing camera shows Arjun Maini now trying to get one of the places back that he lost at the end of the Kemmel Straight, and he's done it at the inside of Feller. Lucas Stolz has got the queue behind him, Marco Wittmann and his Volkenhorst teammate Esteban Moot. And here we've got Mirko Bortolotti suddenly trying to get himself into the points, moving ahead of David Schumacher. So that's 9th place. That's a couple of championship points from 20th on the grid. Very valuable indeed. Schumacher's looking for his 1st points of the DTM. He's got to try and cling on. Marco Wittmann is 11th, a double champion coming after him. And then we've got Lucas Stolz up the inside of Esteban Moot on the way to Brussels. And this is going to be tight. Remember, it's still damp offline. There's rain coming down at certain parts of the circuit. They're all on slick tyres. Good move from Lucas Stolz to get through into 12th place, but he's still outside the points. Battles wherever you look. And look at this, Sheldon van der Linde trying to look at the inside on the way into Pouhon. Brave move that. And he gets past Esteban Moot as well now. So the Belgian driver falling back. We've also lost a little while ago Laurens van Toor, who clipped the pit wall apparently on the way out of his pit stop, so he's retired with damage. But SSL Performance could still get the race win here with, of course, Dennis Olsen. Oh, and round the outside on the exit to La Source, another great move from Sheldon van der Linde. And look at this, Mirko Bortolotti, he's trying to get more points here, going side by side with the Ferrari of Nick Cassidy. Nick Cassidy has the inside line on the way through Eau Rouge over the crest at Radion. Schumacher's got Wittmann behind him as well now, and it's all about to kick off at the end of the Kemmel Straight. Bortolotti, concentrated, team radio in the background, but here he goes, swinging around the outside of the Ferrari. Is he going to make it? Yes, he is. Another great move from the Italian. He gets through. Cassidy drops the place, and Wittmann has got through ahead of Schumacher as well, and into the points. And Marco Wittmann, another one that's charged up the order in this race. Last lap of the race, Dennis Olsen still under pressure because he's got coming after him Maximilian Gortz, who is absolutely flying. Almost there, almost home and dry. It's going to be a first win in DTM for Dennis Olsen.
Yes, boys.
What a fantastic result for Dennis Olsen, the Norwegian victor here in the DTM. Takes a sterling victory as they plough over the line, battling side by side inside the top 10. Olsen wins, Gortz in second, Preining in third place. René Rast comes home in fourth. Kelvin van der Linde and Nico Muller round out the top 6 in the first race of the weekend, with Fraga, Bortolotti, Wittmann and Cassidy, the other drivers, to come home and finish inside the points. What was a very stressful end to the race. Maximilian Gortz setting the Auto Hero fastest lap of the race on the very last lap to close to within 0.8 of a second of Dennis Olsen. And just missing out on the points in 11th was David Schumacher. But the points, I'm sure, are coming soon for the youngster. So there, the rest of the results. Laurens van Toor looked like he was going to finally get towards that podium today. I'm afraid one of the retirees from race 1.
Very hard, to be honest, very hard. Very frustrating day, to be honest. But when you qualify at the back, you know, it's always easier to say after the race that it's a tough time. But the pace was really good in the second stint, especially when the rain started. So quite disappointed to only get away with no points at all.
So Sheldon van der Linde, 0 points. He's still got 17 points lead, but René Rast is up to second place now. Mirko Bortolotti got those useful points and has gone on to 93. Dennis Olsen has shot up to fourth place on 87 points in the championship table now. Lucas Auer dropping down to fifth place. Well, what a reaction this is going to be from the SSR Performance team. It's the first win for them in their first full season of DTM. It's a first win for Dennis Olsen, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory in the most testing of conditions. So the podium presentation, Tommy Preining from Austria with his second podium finish of the season. And what a great save it was after that start to the race.
I've now got Thomas Preining here, who started in P2 and ended up in P3. But I guess considering your move there, I mean, you had the save of the century. We all thought we're going to lose you, but you managed to somehow hold on to that car, so you've got to be pretty happy with the P3.
Yeah, to be honest, after this almost crash in lap 1, I was thinking a lot in the car. I was a bit emotional because we've lost so many race drivers there. Also from Porsche and last Antoine 3 years ago. So to be honest, I'm mainly happy I'm still here, that the car is in one piece, and obviously making up so many positions after and delivering such a cool show is the cherry on the top of the cake.
And what a great performance from Maximilian Gortz. He's starting to string some great results together now. He picks up his first podium of the year.
It's your first podium this year as a reigning champion, so how excited are you?
Yeah, super excited. First of all, thank you to the team. The strategy was great, the pace was good, and it's a payback for the team. They worked so hard, and they found the trust into me after last year winning champion, of course, but it was a tough start for us of the season. But in the last races, we showed the real performance we had.
What a season this is turning into. We have had now 9 different race winners from 11 races. Dennis Olsen now adds his name to the list of DTM 2022 victors, a moment he will savour for a very long time. A well-deserved victory for the Norwegian, and he takes the team to the top step of the podium and climbs up to 4th place in the championship table.
Now I've got the winner here, Dennis Olsen. I mean, congratulations. What a phenomenal race for you. How thrilled are you?
I mean, I'm super, super happy. We've been working so hard for this the whole year, and it's been so tough in the beginning. But now, lately, since Nürburgring until now, it's been a good trend, and we definitely have got some more potential. And we are working extremely hard now, and finally getting the victory is, it feels mega good.
So an action-packed first race of the weekend here at Spa. The drivers enjoying the podium celebrations, SSR Performance enjoying their first victory of the campaign. But what will tomorrow bring? One thing we have learnt in DTM 2022 is that no 2 days are ever the same.
luck in race 1 for Sheldon van der Linde, but qualifying 2 already looked much better. And after all, Sheldon van der Linde is still the leader of the championship. We met up with him, or rather his brother did.
Hey guys, Calvin here, and we're here in Spa. We're gonna go for a little coffee with my cheeky little brother. Check out what he's up to. Let's go. We're going anyway. What's up, bro? How you doing?
What's up, boss? Are you well? Welcome to my crib.
Yeah. Looks
good
good
to be in
here,
Spa,
man.
isn't
Nice.
it?
Where's the coffee?
I don't think we have a machine for that yet, so I'm gonna have to disappoint you, and I can offer you a water. So obviously today is a special day. It's Dad's birthday.
Yeah, man.
We have a photo here actually of him when he started with BMW a long time ago. Actually looks a bit similar to what I do these days, with the hairstyle and stuff.
Maybe not. Obviously, Dad with BMW back then, and now you're in the DTM with BMW. So obviously, seeing that kind of thing from the family is pretty special, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That was always my goal when Dad started racing for BMW, is to kind of drive for them one day and obviously follow in his footsteps.
When did you realize that we would both make a career in racing, man?
I always knew that we had the potential for it in South Africa when we started karting. I would say when we came to Europe for the first time, when you went Sirocco Cup and I came to TT Cup, that was kind of a sign that this is really something that we can follow through with.
Especially for me and you, we never dreamed about Formula One, so like our dream was DTM, and then what made it even more special that we're doing it together now. I think just to travel to all the tracks together, and you know, we both had the same dream, so in the end I think it's probably the best thing that could have happened.
An historic moment in the DTM. South African drivers first and second, and the brothers.
Looking back, what are your emotions, man? We made history that day.
Obviously it was our goal for 2 years to be on the podium together. It took quite a long time, and I think it came on a day which we least expected it. When I got out the car and I saw you behind me, kind of like hitting me, bumping me on the helmet, my neck still hurts from that moment. So yeah, obviously to do this together was like really a bucket list item that we got to tick off.
You know how difficult, how nervous I was last year fighting for the championship. Now this year you're the one sitting in that position. How does it feel? How are you dealing with it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's good for me because I can kind of learn from the way you dealt with it last year, which obviously makes it easier for me. But you definitely feel like all the eyes are on you now. There's obviously a lot of weight on my shoulders to kind of perform every single race to the end now, and no room for mistakes, which obviously puts more pressure, but I think pressure helps me normally.
I'm going to try catch you.
Are you getting closer? I'm getting a bit worried.
Maybe don't write me off yet.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so thanks for the lovely interview, man.
No worries, man. First time doing this.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rain.
Yeah, you too, man.
See you on the track.
All the best, brother.
Good luck for this weekend. Don't go too fast, huh?
Well, after a phenomenal qualifying session on a drying track, we've got quite the grid for you for this second race of the weekend, with what is now the top 2 drivers in the championship sharing the front row. Sheldon van der Linde, but just ahead of him, René Rast, who timed his run to perfection, only 44 thousandths of a second covering the top 2 in qualifying. And that's only the 5th closest qualifying session of what's been a sensational year so far. This then is how they shape up. The 3-time champion René Rast, alongside him the championship leader on row 1. Nick Cassidy with the season's best in the Ferrari, and Michael Grenier are just behind. Maro Engel and the consistent Maximilian Gutz complete the top 6. There are a number of drivers with grid penalties, including Ricardo Feller, a 10-place grid penalty for a technical infringement, which has put him from 7th down to 17th on the grid. Others picking up grid penalties due to track limits offences, and Mirko Bortolotti, his bad weekend continues. He's back in 20th spot on the grid for what is the 2nd race in succession. Can he come through and finish in the points like he did in race 1? So the scene is set. The weather looks like it's going to be dry for this second race of the weekend, but you can never 100% be sure to say that here at Spa-Francorchamps. 1 or 2 damp patches out there. Nick Cassidy then, who is having his first kind of full season of the championship. He's missed a couple of rounds, but he's got a phenomenal record in other championships. Let's see what he can do from 3rd on the grid. Just ahead of him, Sheldon van der Linde almost got pole position, looking as chilled and relaxed as ever. The points leader looking to pick up his first points in a race this weekend. He picked up 2 for qualifying, but this man picked up 3 points for qualifying on pole position, and there's now just 16 points between the top two in the championship. They will share the front row of the grid. René Rast is very much involved in this championship fight. He's had 3 titles and 1 second-place finish in the championship from 4 seasons of DTM so far. A great crowd gathered then here at Spa-Francorchamps for what promises to be a phenomenal race. Here we go then. We're about to go racing for 50 minutes plus 1 lap here at this legendary 7-kilometre long circuit. The run into turn 1 at La Source. The first gear hairpin is always interesting. Let's see what occurs this time. René Rast on pole position for the 2nd time this season. Leads the charge then. Off the line they go. Sheldon van der Linde going with him. And then Michael Grenier having to try and look around the outside of the Ferrari of Nick Cassidy. Nose in front for the BMW of van der Linde, but still on the inside is René Rast as they come out of La Source. There's carnage behind. Rolf Inuyten is into the gravel trap. Nico Muller has got delayed in all of that as well. Heading down then towards Eau Rouge for the first time. And it's Sheldon van der Linde that has got the better run out of the hairpin. He's ahead of Rast. Cassidy is there in 3rd place. And it's side by side for 4th between Maximilian Gutz, the reigning champion, and Michael Grenier, the Canadian. And Lucas Auer's had a good start. He's up from 8th to 5th. We've got 3 abreast just behind with Wittmann, Stolz, either side of the Ferrari of Felipe Fraga. And into the Com, it is Sheldon van der Linde that leads them all. We've got Auer just squeezing ahead of Grenier. We got Maximilian Gutz going off the curbs and off the road slightly, but staying just ahead of the pair of them. And it is Sheldon van der Linde with a narrow advantage here from the front row of the grid. So, René Rast down to 2nd place, and with Nick Cassidy's Ferrari breathing down his neck, they go through Bruxelles, drop downhill. See 1 or 2 damp patches still on the circuit from the overnight rain, but it's been pretty dry so far on the run-up to this. Very damp qualifying session, which saw around about 12 different drivers at one point or another on provisional pole position. But René Rast crossed the line with a 2nd to go to get 1 more lap in. That was what got him pole, but it hasn't got him the lead of the race, and he's having to work very hard to keep Nick Cassidy behind him. The Ferrari breathing down his neck, getting his best qualifying of the season so far. Can he get a result here? The New Zealander has been a Super GT champion. He's got lots of race experience over in Asia and Japan. He raced in the European Formula 3 Championship. He races Formula E still. Very experienced driver, and he won't be worried about championship points like the 2 drivers ahead of him, because he's way down the championship table. He just wants to try and win the race. So they make their way through the middle sector of the lap, through towards Blanchimont, and down at the end of the lap, down to the first gear chicane, the right left-hander at the bus stop. There's Maro Engel trying to fend off Philippe Eng, who's had a good start to the race as well. And it all tightens up here as the Ferrari gets very close to the tail of the Audi. Rear-facing camera from the race leader at the end of lap 1, Sheldon van der Linde, looking back at this battle for 2nd place as Nick Cassidy draws alongside the Audi now. On the gas, he's got his nose in front. He's on the outside line, though, for the right-hander. They drop from 4th down to 1st gear. Bit of bodywork flies off the Audi. Bit comes off the Ferrari as well. And René Rast somehow stays ahead of Nick Cassidy. So the German driver under huge pressure now from the New Zealander as they head towards Eau Rouge. He looks left, he looks right all the time. Maximilian Gutz is getting closer in the Mercedes as well. And of course, all of this allowing the race leader to just show them a clean pair of heels here. Sheldon van der Linde having the ideal first couple of laps of the race here. Great shot as they come over the crest at Radion onto this long Kemmel straight. And they reach over 265 kilometres an hour, drop down through the gears and into the 2nd gear, right-left flick through Le Com. There you can see Lucas Auer having got ahead of Michael Grenier in the orange, white and blue Mercedes. Has got the Canadian breathing down his neck, and then you've got Tommy Preining just behind in 7th. Replay of the start. And this was a really good start from Sheldon van der Linde. He didn't get the lead into the corner, but he put sufficient pressure on René Rast that he was able to get it coming out of the turn down towards Eau Rouge, and then there was contact further back. Rolf Inuyten was not really involved in that. He was just trying to avoid it, and he was the one that went all the way through the gravel trap. Already having to carry a penalty in this race, a drive-through penalty, because of the contact he had with Maro Engel in race 1, and trying to come from a lowly grid position. And this, a replay of Lucas Auer, who's celebrating his 28th birthday today, with a lovely move down the inside of Maxi Gutz. Hard on the brakes into the chicane at the end of the lap. Those 2 windward teammates swapping positions then. So Auer from the 4th row of the grid up to 4th place now. Nick Cassidy has another luck. And we got Michael Grenier down the inside of Maximilian Götz now as well. And he gains a place. And Götz is on the back foot with Thomas Priding coming at him now in the Q Team Bernhard Porsche. And he's going to go side by side again with the Mercedes like he did in race 1 at Eau Rouge. This is going to be nervous moments, but the Austrian keeps his foot buried and goes through. Brave stuff. In fairness, he's up against Maximilian Götz, who is a very clean, fair driver. And great move that from Pryning, but the reigning champion has lost 3 places in less than a lap with all of that. So they go through. Van der Linde, Rast and Cassidy still your top 3. Big battles going on further back as well, with Engel just ahead of Eng. The Mercedes just ahead of the BMW. They've got Lucas Stoltz, Kelvin van der Linde in that battle as well. Right, the pit stop window is open. And one of the drivers that's trying to come from a long way down the order is the SSR Performance Porsche, with a 5-place grid penalty from 25th on the grid for Laurens Vanthoor. He clipped the pit wall in race 1, which was what caused him to retire in the end from what could have been a top 5 finish. So they're going for early pit stops. The race leader stays out. 2nd and 3rd remain absolutely glued together as they come towards the completion of another lap. Cassidy all over the back of Rast, and he's got good traction out of that corner as well. But Lucas Auer is coming into the pits from 4th, and Tommy Pryning from 5th is also making his way into the pits for a relatively early stop. And here comes Nick Cassidy, once again drawing alongside René Rast. Big contact there, and into La Source. René Rast with a robust defence of his position there, but Cassidy now gets the better run coming out of La Source and squeezes the Ferrari in between the Audi and the pit wall. That was oh so tight. He's got his nose in front. He's committed to the move now, but René Rast is hanging on around the outside all the way through Eau Rouge. Stays on the curb, stays on the outside, won't give the position up, and they're still absolutely side by side as they make their way onto the Camel Straight now. Phenomenal racing, but the New Zealander has got the inside line when they eventually get to the breaking point. For Leclerc, the Ferrari should be able to squeeze through. Great battle for 2nd as they come through. Everybody else fighting a long way back now from 4th down. Got promoted back up to 4th with those 2 pit stoppers. And there Cassidy with the job done. But that was hard work, real tough racing. And René Rast might be thinking about the championship and championship points, but he wasn't letting Cassidy through, was he? Came across to defend his line, found the Ferrari there, and it was a pretty hefty contact. More contact on the run down to Eau Rouge. And how René Rast kept his footing around the outside there. Well, phenomenal driving. But Cassidy knew eventually the line would belong to him, and that was where the Ferrari finally made it through into 2nd place. So more pit stops now. Rast has come in. We've got Götz in, Kelvin van der Linde, Esteban Moot, one of the home drivers. Rast is released. Another good pit stop from Abt at 8.5 seconds. They've been pretty sharp this weekend. So he'll get out, as you'd expect, ahead of everybody else in the queue, because he was well ahead of them before. He's battling for a podium position. Where's he going to come out in relation to Lucas Auer? Auer is there on warmer tyres, just behind him as they make their way down towards Eau Rouge. Then Grenier and Pryning in that battle as well. Götz has come out just in front of van der Linde and Eng. So all mixed up in this phase of the race. Felipe Fraga, who's on warmer tyres, is having a go as well. But this is Lucas Auer now much closer to the tail of René Rast. Is he going to have a go at the inside? His tyres are up to temperature on the Mercedes. Not yet up to temperature for the Audi, but good defensive driving here for René Rast. A replay of pit stop, and that's Esteban Moot being released and very nearly into the side of Alessio De Leda. And then Vanthoor coming out. Oh, their contact as he came out of the pit stops with the Lamborghini. So that's going to be looked at. Vanthoor has been busy battling his way through from towards the back of the field. Having a tough home weekend here. It's been what he describes as his toughest season for many years. Right, in comes the championship leader with just about 28 minutes and 45 seconds left on the clock. Sheldon van der Linde from the race lead comes into the pits and change the rears. Schubert Motorsports crew move to the front, looking to get him out in about 8.5 seconds if they can. That front left's taking a bit longer than it should have, though. That's not a great pit stop. 11 seconds, 2.5, 3 seconds slower than ideal. And this is going to bring everybody much closer to him. You can see the crew coming out. push like hell, they say, and he's going to have to on those cold tyres, because here comes the pack. Rast, Auer, Grenier going out wide, Priding taking the inside line. They charge through La Source. They're quite a way behind him, but he's definitely lost ground in that pit stop compared to this group of cars. Cassidy inherits the lead of the race for now. And we've seen one good pit stop already from the AF Corsa team for his teammate Felipe Fraga. If they can do something similar, Cassidy is going to be pretty close when he does his pit stop to Sheldon van der Linde as well. Here's a replay of it. It was that front left which just took a couple of seconds longer than the front right to get off. Not ideal for the championship leader. Team boss not delighted with that. Oh, and a time penalty for René Rast for that coming together with Nick Cassidy into this corner at La Source. So it's going to be a 5-second penalty for the driver second in the championship, the driver going for a podium finish here. And that is going to drop him at the moment at least 3 places, because Lucas Auer and a couple of others are right on his tail. But Cassidy is in. He's had a really good in-lap, quicker than anybody out there on old tyres. Marco Wittmann comes in the background. But it's a decent stop, a really decent stop again for the Ferrari, 7.6 seconds. So he's gained more than 3 seconds in the pit stop relative to Sheldon van der Linde, who's just going over the start line now and down towards La Source. And I think the Ferrari is going to get out just ahead, thanks to the in-lap, thanks to the work of the team, and thanks to the slower pit stop than usual for the BMW driver, Sheldon van der Linde. And indeed, Cassidy's ahead, but he's got cold tyres, and here comes the BMW charging down towards Eau Rouge. He's almost glued himself onto the tail of the Ferrari. This effectively is for the lead of the race. They're 7th and 8th, but those ahead of them are going to have to make their pit stops, and they'll all drop behind. So down the Camel Straight they go, weaving to try and get some heat into the tyres. Sharpish is Nick Cassidy, and to the left of him now goes Sheldon van der Linde, draws alongside the Ferrari. Is he going to try and get the inside line for the left-hander at Le Cobb? He is, but he can't find a way through. Right-hander coming up at Malmedy, and that means for now Cassidy's going to hang on to the position. But it's so tight, and van der Linde is definitely the quicker of the two at the moment, trying to get at the inside on the way to Brussels, but somehow the Ferrari still hangs on around the outside. Left-hander coming up, that will favour Cassidy, and the Ferrari holds on to the net lead of the race. Incredible battles that we've had here so far, and this is another of them, and Cassidy's been involved in all of them. Down towards Pouan he goes, and the longer the lap goes on, the better it will be for the Ferrari driver. Take less time to get the tyres up to temperature than yesterday. Here's a replay as well of Thomas Priding pouncing on Lucas Auer. Great move, and of course these were the two that had to coming together at Eau Rouge in race 1. Potential podium on the way then, but Thomas Priding, the way he's driving. Super slow-mo replay of Nick Cassidy, who's got himself into a position now to challenge for his first race victory in the DTM. Sheldon van der Linde, though, he's ahead of everybody around him in the points, and he will have been told that René Rast has got this 5-second penalty as well. So that gives him some breathing space. The one driver that's outscoring him is somebody that's nowhere near the top of the championship table, Nick Cassidy, having missed 2 rounds of the season so far. On board with Sheldon van der Linde then. We're into the final 10 minutes of the race. Look how close to the pit wall he gets, and look how steep it is. The drop down and then the sudden ascent up through to the top of Raidillon. Keeps his foot buried. Look at the speeds, up to 240 kilometres an hour through there. It's absolutely sensational. You can see why the drivers love coming to this circuit. So everybody having pitted now. Cassidy and van der Linde well clear, and René Rast suddenly going slowly. He'd already got the 5-second penalty, dropping him off the podium. He's going to drop out of the points now because he's got a left rear puncture, and René Rast out. Full course yellow then, and this is going to be a bit stressful for Nick Cassidy, who just started to get away from Sheldon van der Linde. And so too for Sheldon van der Linde, who was 10 seconds clear of Tommy Priding in 3rd. Not ideal for either of them. It's René Rast's car that's off track, but in a precarious position. René's out of the car. No points for him today. So here we go. It's going to be a 1-lap sprint. The DTM side-by-side restart. Nick Cassidy has got 7 kilometres of stress now to try and hang on to his first race victory. The green lights come on. Last lap of the race begins. And Sheldon van der Linde's looking right, he's looking behind him, he's looking in the mirrors. What's going to happen into La Source on the restart? Cassidy gets there first. You've got Thomas Preining trying to come up the inside. Mirko Bortolotti from 20th on the grid. He's up there into the points as well in the number 63 Lamborghini. What can he do? He'll attack on this final lap. And Thomas Preining again side by side with Lucas Auer. Carbon copy almost of what we had in race one, but Preining gets his nose ahead. Brave stuff from the young Austrian, and he stays in third. So Auer, for now, fourth. But fourth place would be enough for now to move up to second in the championship, given the results of Bortolotti and Rast. And Sheldon van der Linde lurks at the end of the Kemmel Straight up the inside. Nothing doing there. For fourth and fifth, you've got the two Mercedes of Lucas Auer and Lucas Stolz right behind him. Some big, big battles in the midfield. Who's going to go for it? Who's going to roll the dice here? And will Sheldon van der Linde just accept second place, 18 points, and a big championship lead? Look at this side by side with Michael Grenier going down the inside of Philippe Eng as well, as they make their way through at the end of the first sector and the unnamed corner, and down towards Pouhon they go then for the final time in the race. Oh, there's a big off in the background. We've got 4, 5, 6 cars coming together further back, from around about 3/4 of the way down through the field. No dramas though for the front runners. It's Cassidy from van der Linde, and then Preining in third place, looking for his second podium finish of the weekend so far, and his third of the season, the young Austrian. And the Austrian round at the Red Bull Ring still to come in 2 weeks' time. Right, almost home and dry is Nick Cassidy. He's had a lot thrown at him in this race, first from René Rast, then from Sheldon van der Linde, and then from the restart for one lap. Stress he could have done without, but he has handled absolutely everything that's been thrown at him, and he's starting to edge away now from Sheldon van der Linde through Blanchimont. One more time, one more braking zone to go, and that's into the bus stop chicane. He can almost see the checkered flag now. On the brakes he goes. He'll turn right, he'll turn left. He'll become a DTM race winner, and the 10th different winner of the season. Nick Cassidy wins!
Yes, yes, you're the man, you're the man!
What an incredible race, and you can see Sheldon van der Linde is pretty happy with second place. What happened on that final lap? Carnage. Nico Muller was involved in it. Mirko Bortolotti was involved, sent out wide. 2 or 3 others involved in that, including Alessio De Leda, who had damage to the right rear corner of his Lamborghini. And that was a result of them all bunching up for the restart of what in the end was just one lap of racing. And poor Esteban Moot there in his home race with damage to the front right corner is Volkenhorst BMW limping back to the pits at the end of a dramatic race. So there then, confirmation of the results. Nick Cassidy with his first ever win in DTM. Sheldon van der Linde and Thomas Preining join him on the podium. Lucas Auer on his 28th birthday, 4th. Lucas Stolz, the Nürburgring winner, in 5th. And Michael Grenier in 6th, with Engfrager, Wittmann and Bortolotti rounding out the top 10. Bortolotti just getting into the points. Only 1 point, though, from what was 20th on the grid. Not a great end to the race for Kelvin van der Linde either. He was back in 14th place, having been strong in the races of late. Dennis Olsen, yesterday's winner, the highs and lows of the DTM this year. He's way, way down the order today after a very difficult qualifying session. Out of the car then, gets Nick Cassidy, punches the air, he climbs aboard his steed, and he's applauded by everybody here back in the pit lane, not least by his team. Ron Reichert, the sporting director, and the team have had a tough year so far, but Felipe Fraga's victory at the Norris Ring and Nick Cassidy's victory here at Spa will more than make up for those disappointments. Fantastic stuff then here at Spa, a great racetrack, some really close racing, and once again in the DTM, 2 different winners in 2 days.
Nick Cassidy, I mean, whoa, you really gave us some chills there. That was a very bold move with René Rast, and also, I mean, that's what in the end got you your first victory in the season, and that's just absolutely amazing. It looked so easy, but in the end, I mean, you were fighting so hard. How does it feel?
Yeah, it feels really amazing. I mean, to win in this championship is something I wanted to do for a long time, and yeah, the fight with René was very, very hard. Same with Sheldon on the cold tires, and look, I gave it everything. I had nothing to lose. I wanted this win so bad, and I left nothing out there.
Well, what a race it was from Nick Cassidy. He really went for it, and so did this young man, Thomas Preining. 2 third-place finishes, and when you think how the weekend could have gone with that huge moment at Eau Rouge in race 1, it is quite a result from the young man from Austria.
Yeah, I mean, after the podium yesterday, I told the team I think we have the potential to do it all again today. It was a very long and very difficult race, hard to manage the tires, and obviously overtaking is not very easy with the very strong dirty air effect, especially behind the Mercedes. It's very difficult to stay close. So I'm all the happier to have made it stick those couple of times, which was crucial, and now to go away from here with a double podium.
Well, a tough race weekend with the conditions for the teams and drivers. Sheldon van der Linde extends his championship lead, though, despite not scoring on Saturday. He's now 32 points clear. Lucas Auer moves up to second place on 98 points, with René Rast on 96 in third place. Congratulations then to the second place driver, Sheldon van der Linde. He extends his championship lead with just 4 races still to go.
On one side, I'm extremely happy to have built my championship lead, but on the other side, we got so close to a win again, and that's obviously what we wanted today. But Nick was really fast, so I have to say well done to him. He drove a great race all the time, and yeah, I think it's about time that he won a race this year, so I'm very happy for him. But yeah, it was a tight last lap. I didn't want to take too much risk to try and dive him in turn 5, and then something happens, and then I'm completely out of it. So I think I did a good job with risk management today, and I think that's what it's all about for the next few races.
Well, the third visit of the DTM to this wonderful Spa-Francorchamps circuit has really delivered. The DTM keeps on giving in the 2022 season, and there are probably a few more twists in the tail yet. Great joy here for Nick Cassidy, the race winner of race 2. Next time, we head to the Red Bull Ring for the penultimate weekend of the DTM season 2022.